Good afternoon. This is a video presentation for 1599 EDN World Indigenous Perspectives, Assignment 3, Learning Through Art Practices. In this presentation, I'll be talking about the representation of colonialism in art. This differs from my previous assignment, which was on the practice of welcome to country and acknowledgement of country. The artistic piece I've chosen to investigate is Shadows on the Hill, a recent release from Indigenous singer Troy Cassadaly. From listening to Shadows on the Hill, I get the feeling of how community, belonging, country, colonialism, and land and place-based education all intertwine in the Indigenous narrative. It's difficult to isolate these strands to study it without considering their wider context as part of the whole experience of identity. But for the sake of brevity in this assignment, I will only concentrate on colonialism and its impact on the Indigenous communities and individuals in the generations. Troy has a strong sense of cultural identity in many of his songs over the past 25 years. Shadows on the Hill is probably one of his darker songs, dealing with a massacre that took place long ago on the Bundjalung lands, a direct consequence of the colonial practices of the day. Kiernan is quoted in Gelada saying that colonial governors granted land and ordered their troops to kill Indigenous people, to kidnap their children as unpaid labourers. They ordered the troops to strike the blacks with terror or to teach them by terror. Organ quotes Governor Macquarie's statement that on any occasion of seeing or falling in with the natives, either in bodies or in singly, they're to be called on by your friendly native guides to surrender themselves as prisoners of war. Seeing Aboriginals carrying spears as they would on a hunt to find kangaroos, possums, whatever they're after, would provoke the settlers to shoot them on sight. To that.
Yeah, they're going to assume that they're going to be attacked, and they're going to assume that they will have aggressive means to come over there with spears. But like you say, the spears were for kangaroos. The boomerangs, they had that minor skirmishes amongst themselves over discrepancies over land or women and stuff like that, but never anything.
But don't we all?
Yeah, well that's right. It's your normal everyday reason you have a skirmish. But I think that the military approach obviously is a very English thing. I agree with that. I see that was the way they saw to progress throughout the country, and it took them a long while to get up into the north coast of New South Wales and to start moving their way into Queensland. But you'll notice the thing that followed them all the way around were massacres, shootings, there were poisonings of rations even, just to thin out tribes of people, to weaken their positions.
In one of Madison's articles, she recalls that then Prime Minister John Howard was speaking at the National Reconciliation Conference in 1997. She quotes, "Howard's view of settler colonialism as constituting only minor blemishes on an otherwise proud history is premised on the view that experiencing guilt and shame is intrinsically negative and should be avoided." I asked Troy about this.
Yeah, look, I mean, I was at that reconciliation conference when John Howard spoke. A lot of people turned their backs on him at the conference because of the fact that he refused to say sorry and acknowledge the stolen generation. And I wanted to try and listen to what he said with a very neutral set of ears, because I obviously came from an Indigenous side of the fence, and I didn't see it as being minor blemishes. These are major, major blemishes that have happened in our history that are never spoken about at schools. They're never taught to kids, and the only way out of it is the education of our children for the next generation to actually get through and go, right, we have to acknowledge this stuff happened. It's a terrible thing to think about, killing babies, killing women, throwing people off cliffs. This happened. In Tasmania, they wiped them out to the very last person.
In our course textbook, very little is actually mentioned about colonialism itself. However, there are mentions of the stolen generations, white Australia policy, mainly 20th century ideas that grew out of the colonial mindset from the 19th century. Gelada, however, puts colonialism at the heart of the matter of how colonialism still affects efforts of reconciliation, inferring that as long as the perpetrator's descendants are still in charge, recognition of colonial genocide is unlikely because it undermines their sense of cultural identity. We saw this in John Howard trying to protect his image of colonialism. In conclusion, I think this song brings up a lot of emotion and contemplation about the ongoing effects of colonialism, transgenerational trauma, and how we can have multi-generational impacts on survivors and through the community as they struggle to face up to the past and reconcile that with future responsibilities to each other and with each other on both sides of the event.
I woke up in the dead of night, saw two men in the firelight. They had scars across their chest, said their spirits cannot rest. They spoke to me in tongues, answered back at a very once. Never spoke that way before. I am not a man by law.
Thank you so much for that, Troy. You've been wonderful today.
Thank you very much, mate. Thanks. Lovely talking to you, Ren, and let's just hope it opens some minds.
Thank you very much.